Hi everyone, it's Lynn Dion from Pink Whisper Designs. Today we're going to be creating some little box cards, and if you're not sure what those are, you're really going to love this. It's a lot of fun, something kind of unique and different that we can play with, and we're also going to be using a brand new set of stamps from Art Impressions. So let's go ahead and get started. For the base of our card, I'm using a little bit lighter weight cardstock. This is a 65 pound. I would suggest something a little lighter because we're going to be layering this up. We're cutting 3 panels. I'm going to create 3 cards today, and these measure 4¼ by 8¾ And for this first score, I'm going to score at 4¼ inches. Now when I fold this over, you're going to see there's a little excess on that bottom section. So that's where we're going to do the rest of our scoring, not on this top piece that measures 4¼ but on this longer piece. So the next score will be at 1¼ inch. And for each of these, I'm going to fold these. My scoreboard is smaller, so if I just fold on those scores, I can go another 1¼ inch, and then I'll fold it again. And we'll do that one more time. So I'm just sliding that score line right into the corner of the scoreboard, and then I'm scoring at 1¼ inch. So let's go ahead and do that one more time. So that'll be 3 lines at 1¼ inches. And then you'll see that will leave left over at the very end about 3/4 inch. And that'll be the little tab that we're going to use to create this card. So let's go ahead and fold on that score line as well. And then I'm going to score the other 2 panels the exact same way. So you can see how this will fold up and create that little box. So again, our first score was at 4¼ inches, and then 1¼ from there. And we did that 3 times, and then we have that last little tab on the end that is about 3/4 inch. So let's go ahead and assemble the box card base. So on that 3/4 inch section, so I folded this in half, and then on that 3/4 inch section, I'm placing some double-sided adhesive. I'm going to fold that in towards the center of the card, and on that score line right there, that first one from the center fold, I'm going to fold it down at that point. And then when I lift that up, you see it creates that nice box at the bottom of our card. Let's do that again. So I folded the card in half, and I'm putting tape right on that 3/4 inch section. I'm going to fold that down to the inside of the card, and on that score line right there, I'm going to push this down and into place. And then when I lift it up, I've created that little box section of our card. So now I want to add some decorative papers to all of these sections, and I even want to include this bottom section because when the card folds flat like that, you're going to see that bottom panel. So I've got the measurements here for you. This piece for the top will measure 4 inches by 2¾ inch. These 3 little sections will be 4 inches by 1 inch. That's for that top, at the side, and the bottom. And then for the back of the card, we need a panel that measures 4 inches by 4 inches. And what this will do will give us a little white border all the way around on all of these sections. Now I need to grab some pretty pattern papers, and these are just beautiful. These are double-sided papers from Art Impressions. These are the 6x6 paper packs, and I'll tell you, it took me the longest time to decide which colors I wanted to use. They're just all so pretty. I just couldn't decide how to mix and match these. You see on the back side, they're equally as pretty as the front. Let me quickly show you that pad. That's the Easter paper pack, and you get all of these beautiful papers, so any of these would work really nice for this little box card. I went ahead and I cut these panels. So let's start with the blue, and I've got a solid piece of cardstock there that again measures 4 inches by 4 inches. And these solid cardstocks I'm using today are from Hero Arts, so I will list and link those down below for you, as well as all the other products I'm using today. Now let's go ahead and add this top panel. Again, that measures 4 inches by 2¾ inch. And then I've got 3 of these pieces cut to 4 inches by 1 inch. And again, that's going to leave that pretty white border on all these panels. And you see how easy it is to put these on. You just press out your card flat and you can easily center these. I've switched over to my Nuvo Deluxe adhesive just because I thought it was a little easier just to slide these around and get them in place. It just gave me a little more time to move those around. And then again, you can see we have this last piece for the bottom of our card, which will show when the card is folded up to place in the envelope. So there you have all of this assembly done. So let's go ahead and quickly do this pink one. I've selected that gingham and then that little florally top. And I've got a solid piece of pink cardstock for the back. So off camera, I went ahead and added the rest of those pieces, just like we did for the first one. And then for this last one, I'm going to be using a lavender solid piece of cardstock on the back side, and then we'll assemble the rest of these pieces. So now I'm just using that bone folder just to press things out a little bit, and now we have all 3 of these assembled and ready to decorate. So let's take a look at these little scallop borders that we're going to be adding to the front of our card. So I've selected the coordinating papers, and I just want to show you they're about a 1/2 inch tall and 4 inches wide. And these are from the Journal Template die set. And you get quite a few borders in this set, but we're going to grab that little scallop border. And I already die cut the 3 that I want to use on my cards off camera, but I thought I'd quickly show you. All I did was line up this scallop right along the bottom edge of the paper, which again measured about a 1/2 inch by 4 inches. And then I've got my Sizzix Sidekick machine, and I'll go ahead and run that through. So now that we have those 3 little borders, I'm going to add those to this front section of the box card. And that is just going to be to kind of ground the scene that we're creating a little bit and just to add a little more interest. And you can see that I selected the stripes for this one. I just couldn't kind of let go of all these other pretty patterns that coordinated so well with these. So I thought by using the back side of some of those papers that I had left over, I could get some really pretty borders. So on that second one, I used the polka dots, and I'll use the polka dots for this one as well. And now let's take a look at this really fun, adorable set from Art Impressions. This is brand new, and your set will come with the dies. I didn't show them here because I hadn't received them at the time I was doing this, and I'll talk about that a little bit more as we're going along. And we're going to go ahead and start our coloring. I'm going to be using the Zig Clean Color Real Brush pens, and I'm starting with Sugared Almond Pink, Beige, and Mid Brown. And to do my blending, I'm going to use the blender pen from Zig. You could also use a water brush here as well. I started with that Sugared Almond Pink on the cheeks. I added a bit of the beige and then a little bit of mid brown, and I'm going to just blend these at the same time. And all of the colors I'm using today are listed up above in the left-hand corner as we're going along. And I have to tell you that I love these sets. When you get all the little pieces that you need to create an entire card. You've got the little clay pot with the tulips in it, this little wagon with the chicks and eggs, and then a basket of eggs. So you could use these, mix and match these for all kinds of cards. And then you've got this little bunny that's facing forward, and then you have the little tail end of the other bunny, which is going to look like he's climbing into these little containers. And I'll show you that here as we go along. But I just think these are so much fun. And again, like those tulips in that little pot can be used on any card. It would make a great card, a friendship card or a thank you note. So it doesn't have to be Easter. So you have a lot of options with these. And I love when you can use your stamp sets for many things, not just for one occasion. So I'm adding a few shadows here and there and just blending that out. And I did add a little bit of that Sugared Almond Pink to the bottom of his feet. And then a little bit more blending on the cheeks. I'm using those same colors to do the little tail section. I'm not going to color in the tail with the brown. I'm going to keep it white So we'll be adding a little bit of light gray to the tail just to give it a little bit of a shadow. But what might be fun here is to add a little pom-pom or some flocking if you have that, and just kind of give it a fuzzy look. So you can have some fun with this as well. You could even stamp it and cut out that tail, just the tail section, and pop that up just to give it a little more dimension. So you have a few options with that. There's that light gray for a little bit of shadowing. Then for this little cart, I've got platinum brown, dark gray, and light gray. So for one of the box cards, we're going to use the little basket of eggs. And for the other one, we're going to use this little cart. And then for the third one, we're going to use the little tulips. So all of our cards will be just a little bit different, but we will end up with 3 completely different cards with this one set. And I just figured it'd be easier to do these all at one time. Make all my box cards, do all my coloring, all my die cutting. So that's how the process that I'm doing. So that in the end, I end up with 3 cards. But if you're going to make more, just continue that process for however many you need to make. And I thought these went pretty quickly once I got started. The box cards were really easy to make, just a little bit of time in the cutting and organizing the paper. So like I said, most of my time was spent just deciding what colors I wanted to put together. I did add a little light gray in the middle part of this cart. And then for the wheels, I'm using the warm gray number 6. Just going to add it to a couple of sides of the wheel and then kind of pull it around. And I did that for both of those. And then I switched over to bright yellow, yellow, and sugared almond pink. So I'm going to add a little bit of that pink to the cheeks on all of these little chicks. And then I'll just blend the bright yellow and the yellow together here to give it a little shadowing. And again, I will add a little orange to the beak, or I'm sorry, a little bit of the bright yellow to the beak. And then I did the rest of the little baby chicks the same way. And with pale orange and orange, I'm just going to show you this one egg on camera. All the other colors I'm using will be on my blog for you, so you can always go there to reference the other colors that I've used for the rest of the eggs. But just a combination of some really pretty pastel colors that kind of mix and match them. And we're going to be adding a little more interest to those in a minute. We're going to add some polka dots and stripes to those so we can really personalize these. Now to do this little pot, I wanted it to kind of look like a little clay pot. So I grabbed the light brown and the brown, and I really love the way these two blend together. For the tulips, I'm using bright yellow, yellow, and orange. So I am using 3 colors here. I don't think that's really necessary, but I didn't feel like I got enough of a shadowing with that bright yellow. So that's when I brought in a little bit of the orange just to get a little bit more shadowing. But I really did like how those 3 colors came together. So again, I'll do all of those little tulips the exact same way. And then we can go on to do the leaves. And for the leaves, I'm using May green and dark green. Now you will see after I colored in these leaves, I decided I just didn't think they had enough highlight, and I just didn't think they popped enough. So what I'll sometimes do, you've probably seen me do it before, is I'll grab my yellow pen and I'll add a little bit of the yellow, and that seems to brighten things up and give me that little bit of highlighting that I'm looking for. So here you can see I'm coming in with that yellow, and it really does make a difference, I think. It just blends in nicely, and I'm just doing the blending with the yellow pen. I'm not going to use my blender pen. I'm just going to add that color. Do want to make sure you clean off that pen, though, if you go to use it for something else. So make sure you clean it before you put it away. Now with light violet and violet, let's do this little bow at the top of our Easter basket. And that scrap paper that I have there, I'm just laying it down so that I'm not smudging what I've already colored. Sometimes when you put your hand over those areas you've colored already, you get a little bit of smudging. So if you just grab a piece of scrap paper, you can protect that while you do your coloring. Now with pale green, light green, and May green, I'm going to do this little basket. And again, you don't need to have the 3 colors. I just, again, wasn't quite getting that blending that I was looking for. So I grabbed that darkest shade of green and added that as well. I thought here it just didn't look like it had enough depth to it. So that's when I came in with that darker green. Now we can add some highlighting, and we will, to all of these items when we're done with a white gel pen. So that's just going to make everything pop. We'll just give us a little bit more of that realistic look, or a little bit more interest to these when we're done. And I'm adding a little bit of that color to some of the little weaves on the basket. I did play around with this for a little while. I wasn't exactly getting what I was looking for, but in the end I was happy with it. So let's add a little bit of color to the handles on the basket. So you will grab your coordinating dies and go ahead and die cut these. I did not have the dies when I was working with this set. They weren't available yet. We got these sets a little bit early. So I did use my detail scissors to cut these out. So yours may look a little bit different, but I don't think it'll be too much different. And your dies will also cut a slit at the top of the flower pot, the cart, and the Easter basket, so that you can tuck the little bunny in there if you like. And it will also cut little slits underneath the paws, so the bunny can be holding a sentiment or an egg or whatever you like, or even peeking out from behind something. And now I've got my white gel pen, and I'm going to go ahead and add some little interest to these, some polka dots and stripes, some little highlights to everything. I did add a few little dots to the cheeks on my little bunnies. And I've got 3 of each of the bunnies and 3 little bunny tails for the 3 box cards. For the sentiment, I'm using the journal rectangle frames from Art Impressions. And look how pretty some of these are. I love that one. Now I took that little square scallop one from this set. And you can see it die cuts the outer frame, and it also die cuts out that center. So I grabbed my coordinating papers, and then I grabbed some white 100-pound cardstock. I'm going to keep the white frame from each of those and place that pattern paper on the inside. And that's where we'll stamp the Hello Easter sentiment. And that's from the same set. And I've got my VersaFine Onyx Black ink and my Mini Misty stamp positioner, and let's go ahead and stamp all 3 of these. And again, to create kind of like a little production line, this is really easy to do, and you can see how quickly I was able to stamp all 3. Now for the assembly. This little bunny tail is going to be kind of like climbing into that little wagon. So I'm going to glue that down flat, but you could certainly pop that up. I just didn't want to add too much more dimension to this card. And then the little bunny, the little paws are cut out. So you can slide your frame right up underneath those little paws. And then I'm going to add some glue to the bottom of the bunny so that I can slide my sentiment in there. And I'm trying to slide it right under the paws and make sure it's centered right in that frame. It'll just kind of lock right into that frame. And then I can go ahead and add some glue to the back of this entire thing. Now when I place this on the card, I want to make sure that the sentiment is hidden. So I don't want it to show until the card is popped open. So that I'm going to line it up down towards the bottom of that first score line there, and just make sure it's nice and level and even. And then I'm just going to double check that by closing my card, making sure that sentiment is hidden. And that looks pretty good. And now we can go ahead and add the little cart to the very front. You do want to make sure when you're adding things, they don't go up over the top of the card when it's folded closed. So you do want to make sure you check that. That's what I was checking there, just to make sure that when this is pressed down flat to go in the envelope, nothing sticks up over the top of the card. So I've placed some glue just on that lower section of this little wagon. And we can set that aside for now. We're going to come back to that a little bit later. Let's go on to this next one. This next one will have the pretty little tulips. Again, I'm going to have that little bunny kind of climbing into those tulips. Now you could certainly have the bunny, this one here, this bunny, inside that little tulip container as well. So there are some options for these. I decided to do all three of these the same way just so that I could keep everything moving along pretty quickly. And I'm going to again apply that glue to the back and pop this one in place. Again, I want to make sure it's lined up kind of down towards that score line, that first score line. And then we can go ahead and place these tulips down. And I only want glue on this lower section. So let's set that one aside and do that last one, the lavender one. And same exact process, and I went ahead and glued that together. Now I did stamp and color in a few extra eggs, and I'm going to place a couple of those here right along this sentiment. And then for this one, I'm going to use the same color combination for my eggs that I used for my little pot. And off camera, you'll see at the end that I added some more eggs to that one. I just wanted to place a few around that container. And this set also came with this cute little paintbrush. So I cut that out and I'm going to place that down at the bottom right of the sentiment. And then I also had that little bow from this same set. So I placed that in her hair. Now using the Easter sentiment set, we're going to grab that sentiment that says Easter's on its way. And now I've got the reverse pieces that were left over from before. I've got the center out of the white, and that's where we'll stamp our sentiment. And then for the frames, those are the leftover pattern papers that we didn't use earlier. So it's just the reverse of what we did before. So let's go ahead and add our frame, and I'm just flipping it over so you can see you can use any side you want. You could use the stripes if you prefer that. I'm going to go ahead and glue this right in the center of the card, and then we'll add that sentiment. So again, this uses up all the little pieces that we had left over, and certainly is a time saver because you've got two sentiments for the price of one, I guess. So let's go ahead and place that one in, and I did the others off camera. And here's where I was mentioning to you that I grabbed a few extra eggs and I decided to place them on this card with the tulips. Now I've got the Spellbinders Opalescent Sequins in pink, purple, and Aurora, and I'm going to add those. So I've got the Aurora ones for this card, and what's nice about these sequins is they don't have any holes in the center, and I really like that, and they're very, very iridescent. They're really pretty. And I just added a few in each corner. For this one, I'm going to use those pink ones, but I'm going to add a couple to the center of the wheels on that little wagon. I just thought that would really bring a really pretty little sparkle right there. And then a few up at the top right hand side. And then for this last one, I'm adding a few down around that basket, and those same three up on the right hand side of the top of the card. And there again, you can see that I added some extra eggs. So off camera, I had stamped and cut a bunch of these eggs so that I could kind of place them around. I've got the Wink of Stella clear glitter pen, and I'm adding it to the tail on each of these little bunnies. So let's take a closer look at all of these cards, and you can see they stand up nicely. And they're just so much fun and so cute to do. I just had a really great time with these. And now you can see when the card is folded, you could put this in a standard size envelope. It does cost a bit more to mail a square card, but since this is 4 1/4 by 4 1/4, it will fit inside your standard envelopes, so you don't have to worry about that. So those are the 3 cards for today. I really hope you enjoyed taking a look at this brand new set from Art Impressions. And if you liked today's video, please hit the like button and subscribe. And don't forget to hit that notification bell so that you don't miss a single video. Thanks so much for joining me today. I hope you all have a great day. Take care. Bye-bye.